She's received more than 50 awards since 2012 as the artist Aoede and is the author of a new book, A Light in the Darkness, all while battling a rare chronic illness for more than 10 years. Music and art are her lifelines, and she obsessively creates to heal. Please welcome Lisa Sniderman.
Thank you so much for being here.
So Lisa, describe to us this disorder and tell us when you discovered it.
So I've been struggling for more than 10 years with a progressive muscle weakness disease. It's an autoimmune disease. It's called dermatomyositis. And if I don't treat it, basically it attacks and weakens my muscles and my immune system. And I've been dealing with the challenges of trying to manage this disease through different things, treatments and therapies and drugs, since 2008. So picture yourself, it's 6 weeks before your wedding. You're about to go on tour to promote your first full album, and you're working full time. And then imagine you get a skin rash and you go to the dermatologist thinking he's going to give you some cream. And instead, he tells you that you have a rare, unpronounceable disease, and he refers you to a rheumatologist. And by the way, you're only 36 years old. So that was the starting place. And for me, the worst of that journey was a flare in 2010 that put me in the hospital for about a month with no ability to move my muscles. And it also rendered me into a wheelchair, confined me to a wheelchair. And then I had to go through intensive rehab for many months in order to relearn the basics, like how to sit, how to stand, how to walk, and then eventually how to play and sing again as a musician. And so my story basically is persevering through this darkness that I call DM, dermatomyositis, by obsessively turning to creativity to express and to heal. But my story is more than that. It's actually, and it's also my purpose, which is to be a light in the darkness. And that's kind of a muse role, inspiration, support, encouragement to all of those people who are dealing with chronic illness, possibly disability, and unexpected life events.
And you founded a community called Lights in the Darkness. Tell us about that and its goals.
So when I was dealing with how I wanted to share my story, really what came to me is that I most wanted to collaborate with other artists who were also creating to heal. So I put out a post, basically a call to action to passionate artists, musicians, and authors back in May. And I told them a little bit about my story, and I explained that I wanted to have an event. And I just was overwhelmed, actually, by the interest and participation that came out. And as a result, I formed a Facebook group for artists that are creating to heal. And we've been continuing to connect and to share stories there. And I also was planning an event in December. And I didn't want that just to have a geographic time and space. In other words, I wanted anybody who wants to participate and be able to share to be able to do that. So I opted to start recording video interviews. And right now I'm recording interviews with more than 40 artists from around the world who are all using creativity to help heal. So in December, my plan is to share these conversations on creating to heal the week leading up to my December event, and then culminating in a live performance and streamed performance on December 16th in the Bay Area.
So what kind of artists, when you say artists, is he visual artists, they're musicians, performance? Talk to us about the kind of artists that work with you and they're in the community. And I also like to know a little bit more about your art.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, to answer the kinds of artists, as I said, it's artists, musicians, and authors. So it runs the gamut for people who are non-professional, just, I wouldn't call them amateur musicians, but musicians that aren't necessarily doing this for career. to authors, that have books out, to visual artists, as you mentioned, who might be basically what I was interested in is the stories behind the art. So here's an example. One of the colleagues I know never wrote a musical before, wasn't even in theater. He ended up getting a form of cancer, testicular cancer, at the age of 30. And he turned to writing a musical. That's how he processed getting cancer and getting through cancer. And he ended up writing a book called something like Having a Ball at 30. How I wrote a musical to get through cancer, right? So that kind of a story is what I'm interested in particular. But it's also people who are creating to help heal others. It isn't just healing themselves. So there's, people who are helping others. For example, Suffering the Silence is a community, an online community of chronic illness, people with chronic illnesses. And, it's intended to help be a place where people can go online and have support, as a community. So some people have, created to help others as well. Getting back to your first question about my own creativity, well, it's taken a lot of different forms. I create full-length fantasy musicals that feature dialogue, sound effects, sound design, character voices, instrumental score. I put them on audiobooks, and so that's one way that I create. The other way is I adapt them to stage plays, and so I do theater. I'm also a voiceover artist. I wrote a book, so I'm also an author, and I also do teaching arts. So the way I look at Aoede is kind of expressive and teaching arts, both.
So Lisa, I think that you have a very interesting book, a wonderful community. It sounds like a lot of fun, and it's going to be very helpful to a lot of people. So tell us, how can we get your book, and how can we get involved with the community?
Yeah, thank you. So to get involved, if you're an artist creating to heal, you can join the Facebook community, and you can just go onto Facebook, look for the group Lights in the Darkness Creating to Heal, and feel free to join. The public can do the same. And if you want to follow so you can stay updated on the December event, go to lightinthedarkness.info, where you can also find out all the information you want about the book.
Do you have any upcoming events?
The December event is going to be December 16th in Redwood City, California. And like I said, you can find the information on that site.
All right, Lisa, thanks so much for sharing your story and your advice.
Thank you for having me.